All right, so this week marked the 43rd anniversary of the debut album from the one, the only Led Zeppelin. So I figured I'd take a look back and just kind of reflect on this album and what it meant to the music world in the long run. So, this album, the self titled release, sometimes known as Led Zeppelin 1, kind of showcased the formula for what would allow these guys to really dominate in the next decade, the 70s. It came out in 1969, but most people recall or know a little bit about the history. The reception for this album was very, very bad initially. Some of the reviews that came out at the time compared these guys to worse versions of Rod Stewart and mocked how little substance they had in their lyrics. But over time, meaning the next few years, people really began to come around. And by 1975, I think the total gross of this album was something like $7 million. So really, it was one of those, no, 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 yes, 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 yes things. So my personal favorite thing about the album, as is the case with all Led Zeppelin albums, is the unleashing of John Bonham on the world. I mean, this guy, in my opinion, even though he's passed, he still holds the title as the greatest rock drummer of all time. And the way he attacks a drum, but does it with such speed and power all at once, is something that no one has really been able to do since. Dave Grohl kind of comes close, but it's more like he's just a poor man's John Bonham. Robert Plant's vocals are just epic. Yeah, he had a solo career thing going then. He still does with this whole, Alison Krauss thing on the side, but there was a desperation and urgency in his singing that you really didn't hear present in anything else at the time. Like when he sang about love and romance blues, you felt it just like you did when Muddy Waters or any of the classic blues players from the 30s and 40s and even before that did back in the day. Not like the, in my opinion, the thieving rock stars of the 60s like Rolling Stones and Bob Dylan did. They basically ripped off these songs from the classic blues players of the day, but they didn't have an ounce of the emotion that the original performers did. Plant was a completely different story. I mean, you could really feel the emotion when he sang. And like I said, it was unlike anything else at the time. Now, obviously, those guitar and bass riffs were bombastic and unabashedly simple. But I also think, as exciting as a guitarist as Jimmy Page is, and how legendary he is, quite renowned to be, John Paul Jones doesn't get enough credit for, in my opinion, being one of the first bassists whose bass lines you can really hear very, very clearly in the structure of a song, a rock song, not buried in the mix. I mean, I really feel like this was the album that set the tone for hair metal in the future. Unfortunately, because I'm not really a big hair metal fan. But at the time, this was all original. Those long solos, crazy screams, etc., etc. Yeah, this is where it all started. So anyway, if you haven't heard this album, you're crazy, and you really should. I think it'll make you pick up a guitar because that's kind of what Led Zeppelin's thing is. They're a very inspirational band. So check it out.